No, let's intro.
I keep trying to be. Let's do the intro. Merry Christmas, everybody! Welcome back to that annual episode of the Tabletop Battlefield podcast. Ryan's like trying to keep himself all quiet over there to not ruin the intro. But hopefully, if you're watching this around Christmas time here in 2024, that means one more year that our society has not collapsed upon itself and descended into total chaos. All right, you can talk now, Ryan.
Okay, good.
I keep trying to start the intro about 3 times before we got to that point, and Ryan's like, "Oh, wait, this thing." So I'm like, "Okay, let me go ahead and start the show."
Wait,
And
yeah,
well, this is the start of the show, actually. And of course, if you watch this YouTube channel, you know who I am. Ryan, why don't you introduce yourself for those who have not been around since the old days of the Tabletop Battlefield podcast, and for 95% of my audience that does not actually watch the Christmas episodes because these get like 10 views.
exactly. This is literally just for us, basically, just to be like, okay, how how much more awful can we make this? But hello, everybody. I'm Ryan, aka Tales of Valhalla, or you can now call me Tales, because that is the kind of brand on Tales of Valhalla YouTube channel. Doing stop motion, Hero stop motion, as well as quite possibly doing other stop motions for other miniature war games sometime in the future. Also do a podcast talking about Heroescape and stuff. I'm about to say Heroescapes. That Jason helps host sometimes. So keeping very very busy out there.
Yeah, so of course, if you're into more of the detailed tabletop wargaming stuff and the painting and miniatures and things I do in this channel, that's not going to happen today. We're going to make random commentary about things and make jokes about stuff and bring up totally irrelevant random things, like how I'm having a good day today because I saved myself $90. How did I do that? Well, I've been having a heck of a lot of problems with my microphone battery or transmitter pack here for the last year where the audio is cutting in and out, and I thought I'd have to buy a new microphone. All I had to do was plug the microphone back in because it was loose. So that is how I saved myself a whole bunch of money today. That's the kind of crap you get in these Christmas episodes. But um, let's say, I don't know, do you want to talk about what you've been up to this year before I go into more bizarre random jokes and things? I don't know if you got anything exciting you want to mention. I've
Yeah,
got.
well, I mean, basically what we do. I mean, we used to talk about miniature war games, which
Sometimes.
the state of miniature wargaming, how would we put it?
Eh,
We would say it's on life support. It's
it's
coming
doing really
along. I
well. I
mean,
mean,
yeah,
it really is. I mean, if you Games Workshop's still making a ton of money.
we're over
BattleTech's doing great.
40K.
Most games are still. I say
Heroescape
most
has
games. Yeah,
returned,
HeroScape's back. That's a big change. The
Mhm.
big crazy thing that happened though in terms of tabletop wargaming this year, Privateer Press and War Machine, they basically collapsed completely.
Oh wow. I
So
still have my War Machine stuff that I have yet to paint.
it's back
I
there.
have the metal figures. Paint them.
They sold all their intellectual property off to another company, and Privateer Press is basically a miniature manufacturer for this other company now. So that was
Hmm.
that was the one like downside in the tabletop wargame industry for what is overall I think mostly a pretty good year. Mostly, I'd say. I don't know. Um, I do have one random cultural low
Considering the
point of something I
economy, really.
discovered, but that's unrelated to tabletop wargaming. So, sorry, I was going to have you talk about your year, Ryan, before I interrupted you. So, why don't you go ahead
Oh,
and
that's
actually
fine.
answer that question?
Yeah, well, this year has been just a lot more work on my plate. As far as like, well, it just like a few weeks ago had a primarily, quote unquote, primarily anniversary from 3 years ago of my ostomy, like permanent ostomy surgery, and so I'm still here, thank God. Still doing. Actually, I'd say out of like the 30 years of dealing with Crohn's and colitis and stuff, I think this is the best I've been in a long time. So I don't, and I hate to say thriving because then the other shoe always drops when I say something like that. But I'm doing very fairly well, and I mean I'm trying to work as much as I can. There are like possible opportunities through different game companies, especially like if anybody is tied to the Tales of Valhalla YouTube channel. We have some interactions with Adventure Together Games, which is creating the source terrain system, Time Strike, Source Golf, and all that. And the miniatures they're creating for Time Strike are just like these are printed miniatures, and the colorization of these things, it looks better than painted. It's just stunning how these miniatures look, and they keep on delaying the release a little bit of this stuff, but we
I'm
should be
waiting for
getting
it.
it now. Yeah, we should be getting it now, like the first of the year. Hopefully, stuff is being printed. It's not like nothing's happening. Stuff is being printed. I think they just tend to they go the Elon Musk strategy of saying we're going to be doing it this time, and then a year later, okay, it's actually going to be this time, and no, I'd say like oh um what would it be over under scheduling but still delivering. It's just it takes a little bit more time. I think that might be the word for it. But anyway, I there's a lot of potential. I actually created another YouTube channel called Tales of the Void because they really want me to do animated story within their Time Strike universe. And so just preparing for that, setting up that YouTube channel, which will I'll do as regularly as I do Tales of Valhalla YouTube channel, just to give both an even amount of work. And we'll see where that goes. I know, I mean, I've done stop motion animation for HeroScape for over 10 years now, and just creating content that way. And I know there are people who are noticing a bit. So it's just a matter of time, and we'll see, what happens in the next year or two with that. Either that, or just keep on doing what I do and just make my own stuff. Either way, I'm gonna have fun with it. So, uh, but with that being said, we had an event called Gen Con earlier this year, and I guess this was one of the
It's a
highlights.
bit of a
Oh, and
big event that most people are familiar with, I think.
um,
I've
uh,
never actually
one,
been to
one,
it though.
one other big point too before I forget as well. This past October is also me and my wife's 15-year wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
So thank you. Yep, 15 years. That's nothing to sniff at, and she's been able to put up with me for that long. So hopefully it can be for another 15 years as well. Uh, but so I had that be a special year that we're still here together. And but no, so yeah, earlier this summer I had actually back-to-back Gen Con and Scape Con, which Gen Con is of course like a gathering of just all these game businesses, companies, and stuff. Everything from Hasbro to just, I mean, to big guys and little guys. I've never been to Gen Con before, um, and I wasn't planning on going this year, but the guys from Adventure Games said, "We're going to buy you a ticket. Just show up. just drive to Minneapolis and show up." And since their Escape Con was only going to be a few days after Gen Con ends, I figured, okay, I'll just go there a few days early and prepare for Escape Con as well in the in between time. So I got a last day invite. So it was the last day of Gen Con, and I was just basically kind of doing videotape of some of the play testing that Adventure Together games were doing, because with their source terrain system, um, what makes it so unique is that they're also encouraging other potential people creating games to have the source terrain system as their platform to bring their games forward. And so they had like I think like 4 or 5 games that they were playtesting at the convention during the weekend. So got to meet those guys. Some of those guys were within the Aeroscape community as well. It was was very nice meeting them. It was nice to meet the guys from Adventure together as well in person. I actually have some photos of that. So here, give me one moment. I can pop that up. Okay, share the screen, and I gotta get to see. Whoop, no, no, it's not that. That is something that I don't need there. Okay.
It's a
Okay, there
good
we
thing we're
go.
not live on the internet, so if you show something you're not supposed to, I can deal with it.
No, 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 no. It was actually the what was it? The news stories that I usually gather throughout the year
Oh
that I gave up
yes.
on because I was starting to compile them together. I'm just like, I'm not gonna have enough time for this, so just forget it. All right. Oh, wait, wait, wait. Okay, I got to do that. Oops. Here. Okay, there is that, but you can't see that. I gotta put this here. I might have to. No. Okay. So there we go. Share.
Oh, there we
And
go.
okay, so there was my initial evening meeting with the guys from Adventure Together, and some of the guys play testing their games as well. Like there's Chris, there's Nick, um, and so just a mixture of a crowd. I got like myself a Source T-shirt, and just was able to hang out with those guys for that Saturday evening and Sunday. Let me bring this here. Hold on. Oh, there's me at the convention. This is the playtesting hall. This isn't the convention. This is the playtest hall at the convention. They had like different halls everywhere.
Is that just for
So
Adventure Together games? Is that all playtesting?
that's all playtesting there.
Okay.
So I mean, behind me was one of the tables they occupied for a playtest, and then there was some others further in the room there. But yeah, that's just one hall of many. There were like quite literally like thousands of people there. Even on that last day of the Sunday. And so at Gen Con, I had Lee Hoof, who is the associate producer for HeroScape at Renegade. And she said, "Well, if you're around, then come swing by the booth and meet me." So I did. I did. I was going to talk to her and say hi. And then this was a very fun meeting. This was like the zenith of the year to where over at the Avalon Hill booth, we had Craig Van Ness, who, if people don't know, if you've been under a rock for the past like 20 years, Craig Van Ness is one of the original creators of HeroScape. And so it was a really cool thing to be able to walk up to him, introduce myself, and he kind of knew who I was, which was kind of cool. He's just like, "Oh yeah, you're the guy who does some of those crazy videos." And I'm like, "Yep, yep, that's me." And like, you should watch some of them because I was describing like some of the animations I made, and he hadn't seen them. I'm like, "You should really, you know, take a look at this because this is some of your characters here." But what was really special was telling him that well, I told him in this aspect that I, I'm sure a lot of people go to him and tell him, like this particular game or something like influenced or changed my life, and um, and I told him for me it's a little bit different. HeroScape is something that quite literally saved my life because it wasn't, and I kind of gave as much detail as I could in the time I was able to speak with him, just the circumstances behind my illness and how having HeroScape and animating these miniatures and this game terrain stuff and the story, the lore behind it that he created. If I didn't have that to keep me going through all the hospital trips, the surgeries, and all that stuff, if I didn't have a strong motivator to keep me going through all that. Who knows? Who knows what would have happened if I didn't have something like that? So I was able to thank him for that, which was very special. And here, I'm gonna pop open my screen real quick, and so I got some autographs. Because
Still,
as
still
soon as
looking
I
at your photos.
okay,
What
well
am I gonna do? Oh, there we go.
I
Okay.
clicked on the screen. I don't know about you.
Okay, we're good now. We're good. I had to click on a screen, I guess.
Okay, but yeah, so I got some cards signed because as soon as I was telling him about it, he's like he had a pen. He's like, "You have anything you want me to sign?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So he was a very nice guy. He was a very nice guy to meet.
So
And
there's a Sergeant Drake Alexander card there with his
yeah,
signature on it. Okay.
yeah,
There's
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah,
yeah. The video's a little fuzzy, so just kind of
yeah.
make it obvious as what you're holding up. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, that was he signed a few cards. If I see him, if I'm at Gen Con next year and I see him again, maybe I'll take like a lot of my railing cards because I got a bunch of these. Like because collecting Heroescape, through like eBay or Goodwill over the years, you tend to collect a lot of cards you don't necessarily need.
Can you sign
But
these 15 cards for me, all Sergeant Drake Alexander? I
actually,
swear they're
that's
not going up on
kind
eBay
of
this
what I
week.
literally did. That's kind of what I literally did. I had like almost like a dozen cards, and I'm like, and I told him like you don't have to sign all these if you don't want to, but I just I have them here because I'm I'm quite willing to take advantage of your generosity. So, but he signed a lot of them. So I told him like, and the majority of these I'm gonna give away through my YouTube channel and such, and I did. I have a little bit, and I will do more. So that was a cool thing. And then here behind me is Craig again, and this is Scott Gata who owns Renegade, who is currently has the reins of Heroescape, as well as Ben Harris, who is Dadscaper, who's one of the how I would put it, one of the creators of VC Valhalla Customs, and one of the designers of the units of Heroescape Age of Annihilation as well. And he's joined us on TOV podcast as well in the past. So it was great to meet him in person. Um, and just be able to network with those guys was really nice. But I'm gonna stop sharing because there wasn't too many photos, but I just wanted to kind of share that. So that Gen Con was fun. And if I'm invited again by like Adventure Together Games, to go again next year, I probably will. And then following EscapeCon, and so was able to um, take part in the community of 70 plus people that were there at EscapeCon in Indianapolis. Um, everyone from like Joe Crazy to Roguescaper and others. So it was really nice to meet all those guys, face some of those guys in tournaments, and just have a blast playing it. And I know I upped my gameplay average. I mean, I'm no way like tournament like champion level, but I definitely got more wins than I've had the past years. So I'm getting my skill is slightly improving when it comes to hero skate gameplay. I also actually beat the champion too for a game, the overall ScapeCon champion who ended up winning
Oh,
everything. The
you
one
beat him
game,
in one
the
game?
the
Whoa.
one I faced him on, I was able to produce the win. He had fourth mass too. And fourth mass is it's a common squad, and you got a bunch of squads of them. They are tough to beat, and it wasn't easy. But I had death chasers, and I had a bunch of death chasers, and so it was like primarily orc army. And I just realized I'm like, okay, if I can rush in as quickly as possible and take out as many of these rifle guys as I can, um, and then I'll probably get it. And I did. So that was a fun moment. But yeah, I kept my win loss ratio a lot better this time. So I'd say that's it. Just we're having fun with the TV podcast, and we still probably have like probably like 10 more years worth of material before we get everything because it takes forever going through the lore, and then they're expanding the lore of Heroescape and just going through the old units, and we're starting to go through like the VC units as well. So yeah, we're gonna we're gonna keep busy. Oh, and it's one other thing too. In the last few weeks as well, my Tales of Valhalla YouTube channel got the first step towards monetization, to
Oh,
where
nice.
I can start having members, do super chats and stuff for live streams. So yeah, it's that's a unique goal, and I think it's kind of hard to do because I only have like 600 plus subscribers. And usually people don't like gain that goal because the goal is like 3,000 view hours
Hmm.
up to a certain point. And I mean, there are some people with like 1,000, subscribers that can't even get that much, but it's like keeping that consistency of whatever over a certain amount of time. And even though my community is very small, they view a lot of stuff, so I'm really appreciative of that.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool. Ready to move on to some random cultural commentary then?
All right,
Okay. So,
let's go.
the low point I was talking about this year, I learned about something new. And to be fair, it was not newly created this year. I think it's been around for almost 40 years, and I believe it came from Russia, which when you is have you ever heard of slap fighting?
Is this where one guy will slap the other guy to see how long they can stand being slapped?
Yes. It's a
Kind of
formal
like arm
sport now.
wrestling. Yeah, no, I've seen videos of it, I
Oh my
think.
goodness. I just learned about this year and I'm like, this is an
There you go.
actual sport now. It's like they just
They
stand
make
there and
anything
smack the crap
actual.
out of each other.
If if you can take a broom and a teapot across the ice and turn that into an Olympic event, of course,
Oh, come
slapping
on.
somebody is going to
Curling
turn
is
into
curling is an elegant display of physics. This is just getting hit in the
also
face as hard
slapping
as you can.
somebody.
I was just stunned when I heard this thing exists and I had to go watch like the top 10 knockouts and like my goodness, these people are insane. So that is like anyway, that is just my
And they think
random.
we're nuts painting things and just rolling dice.
We're trying not to get concussions all the time, and it's just like, oh, I don't know why people do that. Anyway, that was my random bit of cultural commentary this year. I guess if you guys don't know what slap fighting is, I should probably explain it. I'll be chance people know what it is. It's two people. There's both a men's and a women's division. They're separated by a
He's
podium.
winning.
Maybe I don't know. They're within arm's reach of each other, so it's very close. And they just take turns trying to smack each other across the face as hard as they can. Usually using like the kind of the lower part of your hand, the wrist area, just to get a nice solid hit. And there's some formal rules about how you can't touch certain things. You got to hold on to like a broom or something, some sort of stick if you drop that. And you're just trying to knock your opponent out. And there's not really fighting. There's no defensive maneuvers, no like, evasion. You just stand there and take the hits again and again until someone pretty much collapses from a concussion. And it's like, really, this is a sport. And apparently it's really popular. And not surprisingly, it was Las Vegas, which was like the first state in the country to set up a formal sports commission for slap fighting for in their casinos and things. And it's like,
How
oh my
soon do
goodness.
you think it's going to be an Olympic event? I mean, really,
I hope
you know,
not anytime soon. I hope not. I don't know. I hope not. One good news is you have to drop an existing Olympic sport to bring that in because you only allow so many sports. So hopefully, I would see UFC in the Olympics before I see slap fighting. That's the only thing I would think. We don't see UFC yet, so yeah.
Anyway, speaking of Olympics, actually, there was the Summer Olympics this summer.
There was,
What?
yes.
What? Just to give commentary on that. What was that? Tom Cruise was pretty awesome, but what was that? I just
I
rolled
didn't
my eyes.
watch most of it. Um,
Of course, it was in France, so I mean, what do you expect?
so I just
Now
got a
all the
lot of
French
the
people that watch this is like, oh, we're we're signing off.
I just got a lot of the post commentary what people saw. I think the
Yeah.
only event I watched was actually they did a recap of the women's triathlon. That's the only thing that was on during the time period I could watch. Only one of the few sports I'm interested in. So that was
I
that in
I think
itself was
th-
literally the
th-
entire show. If you don't know the story behind the triathlon this
but
year.
they had breakdancing as
Oh
an Olympic
yes,
event because they had a woman who couldn't breakdance.
I remember. Yes, that was a bit of
So
one of those random.
if they
That
have
is.
breakdance in the Olympic event, then they could slap somebody.
Let me let me. Okay, I have another low point in cultural commentary. Not that it has to do necessarily with there's this woman who was apparently terrible at breakdancing, but the
Oh,
fact
bless her
is,
heart.
it was she was her whole routine she did was so popular on Reddit, and the fact that everybody has to just jump on board with whatever's popular on Reddit is what you want to make content about because that's how you get views. Everybody was talking about this stupid Olympic routine, even like political commentators who have no reason to be talking about it. This is irrelevant for you, and yet you're talking about it. And it's like, why? And that's because if you never knew, I don't know if just as I'm very interested in following politics. So I watch a whole list of the commentators across the entire political spectrum because it's just fun to see. And if you ever
Yeah.
wonder why every single one of them talks about some random news story, whether it be like this breakdancing person or the assassination of Peanut the Squirrel a few weeks ago, it's because
Rest in
all
peace,
they
Peanut.
what? Oh yeah,
Rest
yes.
in peace, Peanut. Yeah.
It's because all they do is they go to the front page of Reddit. Maybe they go to r/politics or one of them, and they find like maybe the top 10 videos. They pick the top five they think are useful, and they talk about it. And that's why every single commentator talks about some random cultural topic that has next to nothing to do with politics.
Well, it's not the first time that the government's gone into somebody's house and killed their pets. I'm sorry, it's sorry to say, it's not the first time.
No, it's
It
not the
won't be
first
the
time.
last time.
It won't be the
It never
last time.
happens. It never happens because people act like donkeys. Okay? They act like donkeys. I'm trying to keep this peachy, but they act like donkeys. And you're always going to have people that act like donkeys, and that's just how it goes. But, still, rest in peace, Peanut. I mean, I do feel sorry for the owner.
Did you did you see the one report where apparently the state of New York had actually decided a week ahead of time that they were just gonna take the squirrel out before they even came with the justification
Yeah.
for like because he bit the person during the whole I guess the arrest of the squirrel like
We need to kill him to see if he's got rabies. And what if he doesn't have
oh
rabies?
my
Well, then he
goodness.
didn't. But he's dead. So,
And this is why we're all worried about social collapse. Like I was kind of joking about at the beginning, but
well, and actually, I can add something to that too,
go for it. I was gonna
because
guess add stuff to it as
sometimes
well.
like it's funny how I mean X is kind of a thing, aka Twitter,
Hmm.
and I think this was something that like people started really paying attention, a lot more attention to X after the like the first attempted assassination of a certain person, and then everybody just flocked to X because nobody trusts the mainstream media anymore. They're a bunch of donkeys as well. So it's like, okay, we're going to go to X and see all the news there. The problem with going to X is they say everything is true until it gets community noted, and then half the time those community notes are fun to read anyway. And so it's like you're reading something, you believe it, and it's like, wait a minute, community notes, and it actually gives you a reminder. Okay, you got a community note, and it's like, I don't care, I don't believe you. I'm just gonna go with what was originally said. So you have to take things with a grain of salt on X. But when it came to the squirrel thing, they had like identified a woman, I think in Texas, as being the person to rat on this owner, and
Oh
then
no.
later it was community noted that she actually wasn't involved at all. And people were saying, "Okay, don't go after her. Don't attempt to take her life or anything." And at least that's the last I heard of that. And so I think when it comes to, and I'm being a little bit serious here, when you see anything on the internet, um, vet it good. And even if it's vetted, even if something like, okay, some certain things are true, still take it as calmly as possible. We should be rational people and not irrational. But when it comes to Reddit, I want to ask this question. Is something wrong with Reddit lately? Because I post things like on Heroescape Reddit, and sometimes it's a chore. Sometimes I think they're updating their software. Sometimes it's hard to log in. It just I don't know. It's like it's really weird. Is like Reddit going through changes or something? I don't know. I don't know. It just it's
Oddly
awkward.
enough, I never use the site. I know of it, and very rarely I'll go to it if Google search
Yeah.
results goes somewhere. But I could care less what gets posted on that site.
The only reason I still post on Reddit Heroescape is the fact that I have sometimes people say don't stop posting on Reddit Heroescape. So I'm like, okay, I won't. I'll put my stuff if people are still looking at it, even if it's one person. But it's just really weird to me. Oh my goodness. Anyway, that was a fun ride.
I wish I could bring up the YouTube clip from, I want to say it was CNN, on commenting on the trust in mainstream media, where they realized that there was a study that came out asking people, how well do you rank your trust in these different organizations, and like the mainstream media was lower than Congress, which is absolutely horrendous because Congress is normally in last place at like 18%. People actually have some faith in that branch of the government functioning.
And I totally get it. I totally get it. I mean, and I think this comes to like transition between industrial age and information age. I mean, just on that aspect alone, MSM, mainstream media, I mean, a lot stems from industrial age broadcasting, so to speak. And since we're moving more into the information age, I mean, more and more, and just it's happening faster and faster. All that's going to go on the wayside. Um, and depending on whether and how soon we get to Mars, I mean, it could really like change things. I don't know.
Mars
Anyway,
goes up and
Starship's
does
cool.
their own thing.
I'll just say Starship's really cool. Those rocket launches. And they're probably launch another one tomorrow too,
Oh,
as
really?
we're recording this.
Oh,
Yeah. Mhm.
which is, oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I'll try to catch that launch. I sometimes do
Yeah, it's
watch
like
them. They're
midday.
quite fascinating.
Yeah, well, I mean, the last one is they caught, the booster, and
Mm.
this is the biggest rocket ever to, be launched out, in the atmosphere, and then they like come back down and it's like, okay, we're gonna catch this thing, and they got it the first try. I mean, I'm not too big at like I. It's been a while since I've been into sports or even be emotionally invested into sports. Not since I've been a teenager. But when this happened a few weeks, this was a few weeks ago, or was it? It was probably a month ago, I think, actually, that they landed the booster. Like, I was in front of the TV because we were watching it live on the TV. So it was me, my wife, my son, my father-in-law. Because it's like, hey, this might be a historic thing. Let's take a look at this. And and I got so loud after that thing caught that my cats were just horrified. They were like panicking because I was like practically just screaming at the time. I was like, yeah. The cats were like, whoa. And so my wife was laughing so hard at the fact that the cats were reacting, like that to me going bonkers. And then my son started crying because the cats. And yeah, it was interesting.
Back on the whole mainstream media thing, like I got kind of sucked into like I've been, I don't know if it's sucked in, but I was kind of watching a lot of like after Hurricane Helene basically just
Oh my goodness,
devastated North Carolina and like
so
in that
devastating.
area. There's apparently a bunch of YouTubers that are in that area that have been doing like constant updates of what's going on, kind
Right.
of
Well, no
comparing,
one else
collecting
will.
notes of what's happening on the ground versus what like the
Did the
news media is
mainstream
reporting,
media
and it's just
really cover it? They haven't really
I
covered
don't
it.
know.
Like, people's bodies still buried in the ground and nobody's doing a thing about it or reporting about it. I mean, or at least those are
It's
the
a messed up
reports.
situation.
It, it's it's devastating because you're talking about human lives, and um, I mean, just the amount of flooding and mudslides and landslides. Um, I don't know if you remember this. This was a while ago. This was like 20 years ago in McDowell County, West Virginia. where that was the first mission trips I was on before you joined us after Katrina. But I mean, we did some of those edited videos. I think this was the year before that we did our first edited one. I taped stuff, but we never did anything
Hmm.
with it because I hadn't met you yet. So, but that, and I think that was the second year. They had a lot of rains in that area, that town, and a similar situation happened just on a miniature scale, as opposed to what happened months ago with Helene. And a lot of it had to do with the coal mine just stripping the nutrients from the sides of mountains to where you had a lot of heavy rain, and the little creek that ran through the town became just a flood storm and wiped a lot of things out. I don't think the loss of life was that high, but the damage was horrendous, and you never heard anything about that in the news media because I mean this is just one of the poorest counties in the country, really. At least at the time it was, probably still is. And we had to do a lot of cleanup the week we were there that summer. It was and it was mostly just combating mold and mildew and trying to you know build on houses that were either destroyed or were being set up from it. So it I I'm slightly familiar with how rapid those events can just happen just like that, and you have no time to react whatsoever other than just you're you're stuck because there's literally nowhere to go when that happens. So yeah, I feel for them, and I mean even that haze because it was like you had Helene, and then you had another um, uh, just system that was going through the United States, and that meet up, and it caused a lot of rain to come down near where we live because we're not that far from there, just a few hours, driving, and we'd be there. And so, I mean, we were even kind of like, okay, when's this rain gonna stop? But yeah, they had it bad there, so hopefully they can get. I know there are people who are getting help, and there is still lots of efforts, but it's going to take a long time to fix up. It really is.
It'll be years and years. I mean, I
Yeah, years
remember
and years.
we were down in Katrina twice. I think 2009, which is 4 years after the hurricane. It was still a long way from
Yeah.
getting back to normal, especially some of the areas in the Ninth Ward where there's just like five houses in an entire block. There's just all like five
Well,
houses standing. That
people
was
aren't
it.
going to come back. Yeah,
Yeah.
people won't come back. And it's amazing you would see the when it came to Katrina in New Orleans, you would see these neighborhoods and you see how far underneath the water line they were to where it's just like it's literally just a basin, for
Mm.
water to just come pouring in if any of those levees or walls would break. Just and what do you do, you know, in that situation? It's just, horrendous.
There's not a lot you
Anyway.
can. It's hopefully you get out if
Mhm.
you can. If not, oh geez, yeah, that's a bad situation to find yourself in.
And of course, none of this has to do with miniature wargaming.
No, of course not. We just go from random topic to random topic because something gets brought up, then something else gets brought up, and yeah,
we're laughing and then we get all serious because that's the state of things.
it all goes back to me complaining about the federal government because I do that a lot. But
There's a lot of that to go around. So it's like because people need to be held accountable and never. It's one of those
that
things. What's a
that is
bunch
indeed
of like
true.
small time YouTubers to do?
Yeah. Well, we're getting close to the end of the show here. Been almost 40 minutes that we've been recording for. So I don't know if you got any last few things you want to talk about, and if not, we'll
Well,
just wrap things up.
I'd say, I mean, end of the year, just doing some fun things for the Tales of Valhalla YouTube channel, which will probably already be done by the time this gets released out. But yeah, it's just really fun to keep on, establishing this brand a little bit, which it's like back there, and hopefully sometime in the future expand on that. We'll see. Um, but or we're we're approaching our early 40s, or we're in our early 40s now, and so it's like, okay, half our life gone, but at the same time, we still have the next half of our life to go, which was just as long as the first half of our life. So we still have time to make dents, which is that's a positive thing, you know. And I don't think HeroScape's going anywhere now for a little while. I think they've sold out twice of
Oh,
their first wave stuff
well, that's doing pretty good
on their
then.
website.
All right. Well, with that, thank you for joining me, Ryan. I guess we'll just go ahead and
Yes, sir.
sign off as we always do,
Happy
which I'm trying to remember
Christmas, Happy
how
New Year.
exactly that works. I think I
20
go say
2025 people, 2025. It's going to be a great year. It's going to be
yes.
a great
Okay.
year. Mhm.
So I think I go, I'm Jason, and then you,
And I'm
and
old.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year, and we'll see you in the tabletop battlefield and Tales of Valhalla in 2025.